This is Sportscentre.
Hey, I'm Mr. Roberto, and today is Connor Bedard's last day as a teenager. And when he turns 20 tomorrow, it will put an end to an incredibly successful run by a young star. As among active players, Bedard is one of three to score more than 120 points before his 20th birthday. But even though his time as a teenager is coming to an end, turning 20 seems to be a huge launching pad for NHL phenoms. And boy, do the Blackhawks need just that. At 20, Ovechkin scored more than 50 goals. McDavid put up 100 points and won the Hart. But above all else, most of these guys found their first real playoff success. But there's a big reason why we're saying most. As heading into 2026, Bedard and the Blackhawks feel like pretty massive outliers. So have they failed this young superstar, or has he not been good enough? As of today, FanDuel has Chicago as overwhelming favorites to miss the playoffs. So what has gone wrong with Chicago thus far? The easy and obvious answer to the Hawks' struggles is a supporting cast, as Bedard has had very little talent surrounding him in Chicago. And to best illustrate this, look at the Hawks' scoring leaders over the last 3 seasons. Not only is Bedard by far their top scorer, but he wasn't even on the team for one of those years. Now, in all fairness to Chicago, they've got a solid list of prospects that are just getting their feet wet in the NHL, but it still feels like they're missing that true second star to pair with Bedard. Think about it, all the generational talent we've seen in recent years have had elite running mates early in their careers. Crosby had Malkin, Kane had Taves, McDavid had Draisaitl, and technically Matthews had 2 in Marner and Nylander. But who on Chicago's roster can fill that role? This also really hurts when considering the Hawks had an opportunity to take a guy who seems like a future superstar just last year in Ivan Davidov, but they passed on him. Aside from not having a second star alongside Bedard, the Blackhawks also haven't done a great job in bringing in veterans. Sure, they signed some decent names last summer, but even with those guys, they were hardly better than the year before. And this offseason, they've done virtually nothing. When you compare this to the moves the Penguins were making with a young Crosby, it is a night and day difference. As they traded for guys like Marian Hossa, Chris Kunitz, and Bill Guerin, all within a 1-year span, setting their future star up for success, with the latter two helping Sid the Kid win his first Stanley Cup in 2009. So if history tells us anything, what's failed Bedard and the Hawks has been Chicago's failure to find another star and fill out the roster with talent. And if that doesn't change, Bedard might not be having the breakout that most 20-year-old stars did. This has not been fair to our boy Bedard. Chicago must turn this around. Now joined by our guy Bob Weeks for the second day in a row. Great to see you, Bob.
Good to see you too, Marissa.
Okay, Bob, we heard some very introspective sound from Scottie Scheffler as he talked about the unsatisfying venture golf can be.
I mean, playing professional sports is a really weird thing to do. Like, it really is, just because we put in so much effort, we work so hard for something that's so fleeting. I mean, it really is. Like, the feeling of winning just doesn't last that long. You know, when I sit back at the end of the year and, you know, I kind of try to reflect on things, like having that sense of accomplishment from winning the Masters tournament, from winning the PGA Championship, I have a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation for it. But it's just hard to explain how it just doesn't satisfy, is how I would describe it. It's an unsatisfying venture. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is this is not the place to look for your satisfaction.
Is this an indictment on how great he is and the toll competing at this level is taking on him? Or did he just give an honest answer about the reality of big-time professional golf?
I think it's actually a little bit of both. Scottie Scheffler is a guy who has worked his entire life to get to where he is, to win major championships, to be the top-ranked player in the world. But I think he's finding that once he's there now, there's a lot more to life. There's a lot more things you can do than just win golf tournaments. He's a man of faith. He is a relatively new father. I think those things kind of give him some perspective. It also, though, is a little bit about what the PGA Tour and professional golf is about. There's a winner every single week. Sometimes those are bigger winners, such as major championships. But I think Scottie Scheffler nailed it, that you go from one week to the next week and you're the winner that week and you move on and you try to win again. But I think he really understands where he is in his love of golf and where that fits in his life.
Okay, Bob, let's talk about Scottie and his legacy. If he wins the Open Championship, giving him his 4th career major and 2nd this year, where does this put him all time, and just how high can he climb on this list?
Well, Scottie Scheffler is certainly building himself a legacy, but there's a long way to go to be one of the top players when it comes to major championships. You know, very few golfers ever win 1 major championship, so there's a lot of guys with 1, fewer at 2, fewer at 3, and if he were to get 4, that would certainly move him up into some pretty exclusive territory. But he's got a long way to go to catch Tiger Woods at 15 and, of course, Jack Nicklaus at 18. He does have a good chance this week. He's had 2 top 10 finishes in the 4 appearances he's made in the Open Championship, so we'll see if he can add number 4 in the major count this week.
Bob Weeks, a pleasure as always.
Thanks, Marissa.
And you can watch rounds 3 and 4 of the Open Championship this weekend on TSN. Coverage starts nice and early Saturday morning, so set those alarms. Today is officially known as the slowest day in sports. The MLB All-Star Games concluded. The ESPYs are tonight, which you can watch on TSN, of course. And while there are some games going on in some sports, there's really not that much happening. So we figure there's no better time than to lock into Crave tonight and watch some of our favorite sports programming there. So time now for Arissa's rankings. Here are the 5 best sports-related shows that I think are happening right now in Crave. At number 5, we got Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. While some might question the accuracy, there is no questioning how brilliant the storytelling is in this one. Give it a watch. Plus, hello, John C. Reilly, Adrian Brody. We got some star power in this one. Number 4, you know I gotta put in here, Dark Side of the Ring. I feel like I've mentioned this a few times to you now. You should be watching Dark Side of the Ring. Even if you're not a wrestling fan, this will bring you in. At number 3, the rebuild inside the Montreal Canadiens. There is nothing better than getting inside a hockey locker room, and you're getting that. You're getting real in-depth footage of what it's like inside this organization. Plus, it's narrated by our boy George Stroumboulopoulos. At number 2, a Crave original and honestly one of the best sports shows ever. You know I'm talking Shoresy. It perfectly encapsulates what it's like being a hockey bro in Canada, especially in Ontario. And at number 1, I'm doing this one as a bit of a troll, but there's no better summer binge than Love Island USA, and you can watch every single episode. Now, the finale just happened, so binge it all, baby. It's the perfect garbage TV watch, and there's no greater sport than the sport of love, right? To the WNBA, and we got some big news last night as Caitlin Clark suffered a groin injury on this play. What has to hurt even more is that it happened in the final minute of Fever's win over Connecticut. And this is awful timing considering the WNBA All-Star Game is this weekend. And it's in Indy with Clark as one of the captains. This is horrendous news for so many people who love watching WNBA, and even people who don't usually tune in but will be tuning in for this All-Star Game just to watch Caitlin. Man, that stinks. At this time, the status for All-Star Weekend is still TBD. Clark had just returned from a groin injury 4 games ago, and she's unfortunately been struggling with injuries all season, as she missed 5 games earlier in the year with a quad injury, and then 5 more with that previous groin injury we just mentioned. The Fever are back in action tonight against the Liberty, with Clark expected to be evaluated ahead of the game. So there's still a chance we see her on the court tonight, and this weekend at the All-Star Game, but I'd put tonight's game at unlikely. That's all for today. We'll see you back in tomorrow at 3 Eastern, no Pacific. Have a good one.